As you get further down the road, all right, I think it's always interesting to compare you and Mel. Mel, you could tell, hated having Love as low as he did. You've got 4 in the top 10, 4 quarterbacks in the top 10, including Love. How married are you to the idea that that's where this will end up?
I'm not married to it. And I do think that Jordan Love is probably the least likely to be in the top 10, even though I've bet him. But I will say this. I think when we look back in 5 years, he could be the second or third best quarterback of this year's class. Everyone in the league is in love with Joe Burrow. I mean, he's the guy. Coming out of LSU, what he's done, just his background, his pedigree, how tough he is, how he played in the biggest games on the biggest stages. Tua Tagovailoa, they love him the same way. It's just, can he stay healthy? After that, though, it's a big drop-off, and there are a lot of different opinions. I mean, there are guys I talked to in the league that love Herbert. They think that Herbert's going to be a great player. And there are some guys who are like, I wouldn't even go there in the first round, and the same thing with Jordan Love. So it's going to be really interesting to see, especially now that some of the veteran quarterbacks are starting to move around, and there aren't as many teams in the top 15 that really need quarterbacks, but we always see it happen. There's going to be a team or two that moves up because they're so afraid of entering next season without a quarterback that they can at least develop, hopefully become their starter.
Before I move off the quarterbacks, just a thought, because as you and I have had these conversations from college football season till now, they loved Tua the same way they loved Burrow before he got hurt. And granted, you told me before, Burrow was 4th or 5th round before last year's incredible season. So I guess what I'm asking you is, just quarterback for quarterback, side by side, how much different is Tua seen to Burrow if we are able to kind of move health to the side?
If health is put aside, I would take Tua over Burrow, but it would be really close. And there's such a difference from what we saw from a year ago. And part of it is the system. Part of it is the fact that he got a little bit more experience. And Joe Brady, the coordinator, came in and was allowing him to do things that made him succeed. And that's what we see in the league all the time, too. I mean, yes, we all fail when evaluating quarterbacks. We all fail evaluating all of these players sometimes. But what we forget about all the time, it's not just the talent, it's what situation are they in? Are they having a coordinator that's allowing them to do the things that they do best? And I think we saw with Burrow, he's the prime example. But ultimately, just watching the tape, if I was promised that both of these quarterbacks were going to be healthy for the next 10 years, I would take Tua over Burrow, but there's no way I could do that knowing the history of quarterbacks and the injuries in the NFL coming from college.
They both played alongside obscene wide receiver talent and obscene talent overall, and that is evident in this draft. Todd, you have 15 SEC players in the first round. You have a dozen wide receivers in the first 2. Which one of those numbers is the most ridiculous in terms of look how many of these guys there are?
We're used to the SEC, right?
Yeah.
I mean, every year the SEC is right there. The ACC kind of creeps in every once in a while, but the wide receivers, I mean, you got to go back to 2006 to get close. But I think in the last 20 years, if you really study this class, it's not just about having Jerry Jeudy. It's not having, and yes, there's no Calvin Johnson. There's no elite, if you will, like that high-tier player. But the depth of this wide receiver class, I've never seen anything like it. I really haven't. If you need a slot receiver, you're going to take Ayuk and you're going to put him there, and he's going to be the run-after-catch guy, and he's going to, coming out of Arizona State, he's going to be able to create in the return game. If you need speed, just someone on the vertical, just to get down the field, take Ruggs out of Alabama. If you need the best route runner that I've seen in 20 years, Jerry Jeudy's your guy. You have so many different options. T. Higgins is 6'4", 225 pounds, and is going to run a 4.50. And, yeah, he's got some flaws to his game, but he's big and physical and can use that size. So anything you're looking for, you can find. It's a matter of when do you wait to go get that guy.
This is ridiculous talent like that we've never seen at this position, isn't it?
21 wide receivers now that I've gotten really close to the end of the process in terms of just evaluating players. 21 wide receivers, I believe, belong in the first 3 rounds. That would be the most that, going back 20 years, that we've seen.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.